is you're just an employee of yourself if you're doing all of the things. You're really not a business owner. And so it took me a long time to learn that. And I learned that the hard way.
Women Who Own It podcast spotlights women business owners who are pioneers in their field, setting trends, blazing trails, and creating game-changing innovations. Brought to you by WeBank, the largest certifier of women-owned businesses in the U.S. and a leading advocate for women business owners and entrepreneurs. And me, Allison Maslan. I've been a business owner for the last 35 years. I'm the Wall Street Journal best-selling author of the book, Scale or Fail. So join our bold community of women who built it, grew it, and own it. I'll see you on the show. Welcome to the fourth season of the Women Who Own It podcast, where we are diving into the theme of momentum. This year, we are exploring how our network of women-owned businesses builds and sustains momentum in their practices and operations, from developing successful strategies to overcoming obstacles and leveraging community support. Our guests share their insights and experiences in driving growth and innovation. So we hope on this show to inspire you with practical tips on how to stay ahead of the curve in an ever-evolving and changing market. Join us as we embark on this exciting journey of learning, discovery, and growth. My name is Allison Maslan. I am your host. I'm also the CEO and founder of Pinnacle Global Network, where we help businesses around the world grow and scale companies that change the world. And so today I'm really excited to have an amazing business owner who I have had the opportunity to actually work with in our company, Pinnacle Global Network. So I'm excited to have her on the show. From business owner to retail business coach, Kristi Brocato was the owner of the Basketry for over 28 years until selling her business in April of 2023. Now, like many business owners, she became tired, overwhelmed, stuck in her business. Can anyone relate to that? So since selling, she now coaches other retail business owners through her course, The Retail Lab. Her signature process helps her retail clients get out of the weeds and become the entrepreneur they have always dreamed of. So Kristi believes in firing yourself to find freedom. So Kristi, excited to have you here.
Thank you, Allison. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, now you were the owner of the Basketry for 28 years. Now that is what a ride. I mean, most business owners don't even get to a third of that, number of years. And so you recently sold that company. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But and I want to dive into that a little bit, but can you tell us, a little bit about your journey into becoming an entrepreneur, how you found your way into retail and starting that business?
Yes, I'm happy to share that. I started the basketry when I was really young. I actually started in college. And the whole reason for even the business becoming was because at the time, the only option to send family and friends was flowers through delivery. No one delivered gifts. There were no cookie bouquets. There were no other options. And so sitting in my dorm room, I thought, there has to be a better way. There has to be a way to be able to send beautiful gifts hand delivered. And so the basketry was founded. And the whole idea was, if I could provide a beautiful gift and a beautiful service that was unlike anything else, people would just love it. And it took off, and it became a retail store. And for years it grew. And just like most retail folks, I didn't know how to build teams. I didn't hire correctly. I had no idea how to do marketing. I mean, really, I learned everything just myself. So it took a long time, but it was fun and I loved it. But I was also an employee of myself. And that is one thing that I'm able to share with my clients now is you're just an employee of yourself if you're doing all of the things. You're really not a business owner. And so it took me a long time to learn that. And I learned that the hard way. Um, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but that is why Pinnacle Global Network was such a huge aha moment for me, because retail is hard and it's not like any other business. It's truly its own thing. And I know that retailers like me feel alone because we don't feel like there's a whole lot of support, and we don't know who to talk to because people don't get us. You know, you are literally shackled by your hours of operation, by your team that doesn't show up, or maybe the team that's wrong that shows up and doesn't do things quite like you want. Um, you don't have freedom in retail because you're open from whatever to whatever, and you have to be there, or you feel like you have to be there.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, you have so much wisdom to share through all these years of experience, Kristi, and really it's been our honor to support you through that transition. And like we were talking before here, I remember where you were, and just the shift and really shifting you into that team managed company,
mhm,
and so you really were in that CEO role and loving your business again, and realizing it was time to make that transition to selling the company. So it was our honor in Pinnacle Global Network to help you through that piece, and it was very, very exciting to see it all come to fruition.
yeah.
So, can you share a little bit in this, selling this 28-year-old business? Because I mean, I would imagine some of you that are listening want to sell your business at some point. You might be in the process, or you might think, oh, it's 3 to 5 or 10 years away. What were some of the deciding factors, and what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome?
Well, I'm glad you asked because before COVID, I listed my business for sale. I thought I was ready. Um, and I think the reason why I did it wasn't because I necessarily was tired or stuck, although I did feel that way. I was just told you should always have the end in mind. And even though you're not quite ready to sell, it's a good idea to list it. You never know what opportunities are going to come when you're not quite ready. And I did have a few people that were interested in buying. Either they were the wrong fit, it was the wrong price, or just I wasn't ready at the time. But then when COVID hit, like most businesses, we sort of jumped all in, and you just had to get through it. And I'm glad I did because business exploded and it became more valuable. And that is about the time I realized, Kristi, you're doing this wrong. You're trying to do all of the things, you're trying to wear all of the hats, you're physically and mentally exhausted. You don't know how to build the right team. You have a lot of great people, but they're on the wrong seats. You don't have a leadership team. And these are just some of the things that most business people feel. Um, Retail during COVID was extremely hard because you had to be there and you can't leave, and your kids get what's left of you at the end of the day, which is really sad. Um, and then after COVID sort of started to let up and business became normal again, that's when I realized I really, really need to figure out how to get myself out of my business, out of the weeds. Like you have said, your ideas and your vision happens when you're in the clouds. Like I had no vision. I didn't even know where this was going. I was just putting out fires and making a lot of money and growing, but just not being strategic about it at all. So in my time of desperation and just feeling stuck and all of those horrible things that business folks feel, that is when I like to say you found me, because somehow you popped up on Instagram and I hit that little learn more button, and that was it. That 3 day scale it live was what I needed to really just make me feel like, yes, there is an angel out there that is going to teach me how to do this better. And that was when I said yes to myself. And I'm so, so happy that I did, because that year, which, let's see, 2022, that was that was a year of total transformation for myself and for my business. So, yes, it was great for business, but it was just really, really amazing for me, as an individual to see how I could grow as a business person, you know? So that was really
Yeah.
special.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I'm so happy that, we were brought together and that it was at the perfect time
Mhm.
and to be able to help you really get out of the weeds and build that team managed company because that increased the whole value of your company
Mhm.
to be able to sell it. I mean, if you think about it, Kristi, and for those of you listening, when you want to sell your company, whoever's going to buy it, they want to know that the second that you leave or that Kristi was leaving, that the business will continue to run.
That's right.
They don't want to invest in something that's going to go kaput the second that the business owner leaves or everybody's dependent on you. And that's really what, that year was about, was just to get your company so it was thriving on all cylinders without you having your hands in every area of the business. And that drives up the valuation of your entire company.
Well, Allison, you talk a lot about scaling. And when I became a Pinnacle member, I'd hear that word all the time. And so I noticed in my business that it was kind of hard for me to physically scale. I didn't want another store, I didn't want another location, or I didn't want a franchise, And so that's where my mindset was, how do I grow it? Although my sales were more every year and I had my revenue was more every year, my profit margin was going up. So I was growing. But I think what the real aha moment was when my mentor in Pinnacle Global Network said, Kristi, scaling is about you growing too. And I remember her telling me that, and I thought, you know what, you're right. Whoever buys this business doesn't want a job. They don't want a job. I don't want a job. So that is when I decided I need to build a leadership team and replace myself. And I believe, let's see, I joined in maybe February, and I believe by April or May, I had already figured out my leadership team and I'd already started giving up my jobs. And it was after Mother's Day, so May, June, July, I started to feel bored because I didn't really have any jobs. I'd given all my tasks away, and I thought, oh my, oh my goodness, I have freedom. I have choices now. I could work, not work. I could go to the gym. I mean, but the biggest thing was I really didn't micromanage. My team knew what to do. They were just empowered to come up with ideas to help grow the company. All the things you say, all the things you teach, I applied, and I trusted you and I trusted my mentor, and it worked. And that was just amazing to see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's you went all in. The changes happened really fast. And it is so funny because, we're so used to being, so many business owners in the weeds of the business. You have your to-do list and you're doing projects and you're running operations and you're checking on marketing and you're, involved in sales and all these
Mhm.
things. So once you all of a sudden shift into that CEO role, and like I like to say, in the clouds instead of the weeds, and your team starts, you're empowering the team, not telling them what they need to do, but actually getting them excited about it. um, a lot of times we see business owners going, I don't know what to do with myself. Like, maybe I'll go to the gym, maybe all that. But really, ultimately, it frees you up to make the bigger decisions for the company, the strategic decisions, staying in vision, helping the team stay excited about where you're going, and those really focusing on those big multipliers. And that was for you to say, okay, I think, we're really preparing ourselves for the next chapter, and who's going to take the business and take it to a whole other level from
Yeah.
here. And leadership is a big part of that, right? So you've heard me say a gazillion times, if you want to grow the company by 40%, then you, as the business owner, need to grow by 60% to be able to carry that 40%.
Yeah.
Otherwise things just implode. So anyway, I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
And so now next chapter for you, right? Next chapter. And you're building this new company called the Retail Lab, and where you're taking all your years of wisdom in 28 years in building this business
Mhm.
to help other retail businesses to grow their company.
Yeah.
How did you decide to make what where did this come about that this was the choice?
Yeah, so I didn't really decide. It sort of found me. I had a rough transition. When I sold at the end of April, I didn't finish. I didn't finish getting out of the store until Mother's Day because I had to stay to help, the new owners transition and so forth. But when I stopped working that Monday, when I didn't have to go into work, I didn't know what to do with myself. No one prepares you for that moment. It sounds beautiful when you're thinking about it, and people would say, well, what are you going to do next? And I'd say, I have no idea. I'm not worried about it. To me, I'm just going to be brave and go and see where it leads me. But the emotional exit was really, really hard. So I did what most people do. I went to the beach and I decided that margaritas and sand would probably help solve that little pity party. And while I was there, I was walking in the morning, doing my little morning exercise, and I realized that there is no way I could have this much knowledge about retail and not share it. I know
Mm,
too much. I've done too much wrong. I've done too much right. And there's no reason why it needs to stay in here in my head. I have to share this.
mhm.
But how do I do it? And it just so happened my DMs were blowing up. My retail friends were reaching out. I need help with this or I need help with that. And I just started helping them. I didn't get paid. I made them buy me coffee, but that was my paycheck. Um, and I realized I was now trading hours for coffee, and I could trade dollars for hours and that sort of thing. But then I was falling back into the same old Kristi that I was before, where I was doing all the things. And so, because I know better, I dug a little deeper. I found some very important folks that you've had on your stage, Amy Porterfield being one. And I realized I could make a digital course out of this, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm doing it slow because I really want this to be valuable. I want people to wake up, retail people to wake up and think, how did I live without this? A fairly inexpensive 8-week course that could just change the way they operate. And so that's how I found that, and it was by accident. But I really believe that I just believe that I can help so many more people if I did it as an online course. I can't do it one to one.
And there are no
No,
accidents, right? So things happen for a reason.
yeah, and
And there are a lot of people out there, and retail can definitely be tricky. And you've navigated your way all these years. So it would be a total loss to take, not to pass that, pay that forward.
yeah.
And so I'm really excited for you.
Thank you.
And what do you feel are the areas that business that in retail business owners struggle with the most?
Well, I would say first and foremost, mindset. Mindset is everything when you're a retail business owner because you think you need to do it all. And every single person I mentor now, it's all the same. They show up in the morning, they get the team ready, they write the to-do list, and they just think that that's the only way to do it. It's literally the first phase, in the journey is changing the way you think. Also, obviously, team. I mean, everyone struggles with team. How to find the perfect
Yeah.
team, how to build the perfect team, how to empower them. And in retail, you have people who help customers. You have behind the scenes folks. You have people in shipping and receiving. So it's very important that you find the right seats on the bus and you give them the leadership abilities to be able to make decisions. The business owner shouldn't have to be the bottleneck ever,
Yes.
ever. Um, so I think mindset and team are probably the two biggest issues, and I'm spending a lot of time in the retail lab focusing on that. Um, there's a lot of business mentors and coaches out there, and I don't know every business, and I don't even want to, but I know retail, and
Yeah.
I know that I can help these retail folks prepare for exit and to get themselves out of the way, because we're always in our own way, just like you say.
Yes. And I was actually going to ask you that about team, and you brought that up. And definitely, when we have somebody that doesn't show up one day in the business, I mean, that can be tough, but especially for retail,
Mhm.
let's say the person's supposed to open the store
Yeah.
and they don't show up, you get that call, right? And so what do you advise retail owners to help protect themselves, from getting in that situation where they do feel chained to the store?
Well, it's most important to have a go-to person. You need a manager, or in my case, I call it a director of operations. You need to have that second in line, and that's who your team calls. They never call you.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful, and I bet some of those of you listening right now are going, "Wait a minute. They're not calling me? Like, I'm always the one that I get the alarm call at 2 in the morning."
Yeah.
And so talk about that a little bit. How was that for you when you were realizing, wow, you didn't have to be that go-to person for everything?
It's funny because at first I felt sort of I don't know, I felt a little lost. No one needed me. And, as a mother, that's a natural thing. You want to be needed. They didn't need me anymore. So it took a little while for me to feel okay with that. But it wasn't hard for me to make a decision about having a second in line. I knew I had to do that in order to be left alone, in order to have freedom to be able to work on my business. I mean, to grow and to scale, or to even just to be able to sit down and create, gosh, a holiday plan, for example. I mean, you can't sit there and talk about what's going to happen in fourth quarter if you're busy unpacking pricing merchandise, or getting that call that
Yes.
says, hey, I can't come in today, my child's sick. you know
Right.
you have to have.
Yeah, and what about those people though, Christy, that go, "Well, gosh, that sounds great, but I don't have, the cash or the revenue
Yeah.
to hire that person." What do you say to that
Well,
objection?
whenever you have a team, if you have any employees, there's going to be someone on your team. If you hired right, there's someone on your team who wants to fill that role. They want to feel important, and they want to have that responsibility. And so not always do they need to get paid a lot, but let's set them up for success, and they'll help you grow, so eventually the cash flow will follow. If you do it right, it should follow. um, but for especially for retail, you have to figure out who is that person that's been here a while, that really, really I can trust, and I value them, and they're going to want to be this director of operations. And maybe they're going to want to grow into that money. They understand that we're a small business, we don't have the cash flow, but maybe one day we will. And you'll be surprised, people will show up for you.
Yeah, really, you can grow a lot of superstars
Hmm.
from within.
Yes.
It doesn't always mean that you have to bring somebody really high paying, and transition them into the business from the outside,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that is absolutely great advice.
Mhm.
What are some of the strategies you use to maybe create or sustain momentum, which is this show is about,
Mhm.
in the basketry, that you want to share with your clients in the retail lab?
In retail, a lot of or in the basketry especially, a lot of it's seasonal. So you have momentum based on the seasons or the holidays that are happening. So You go to market, you're excited, you have all this new stuff coming, and then you have this holiday. So momentum sort of happens naturally in retail. As a business owner, it's really important that you stay 3 to 4 months ahead of the game. So if you're always in the weeds, you can't see what's happening 4 months down the road. So, what I try to tell my retail business clients is let's identify that team so you can give up some of your to do list. That way, you can step ahead, have a little vision, plan for the future. It doesn't have to be a super far, look into the future. Let's just look at Christmas, or let's look through, March or April, 4 months down the road. But you can't do that without a team. So you have to get momentum from your team first. You just have
Yeah.
to. Otherwise, you're just never going to get out. You're always the bottleneck.
Yeah, I think that it's easy to get addicted to being the hero,
Yes.
to feeling like you've got to come in and save the day and rescue and all of that.
Yeah.
And in some ways it makes us feel like important and needed, like we talked about earlier. But you're actually choking the growth of the business
Yes.
by doing that. So it's kind of the opposite of what we would think, right? The more we get out of the way, the more room the business actually has to grow.
Allison, I want to share this. My director of operations told me one day, he said, Kristi, you used to be a tornado when you'd come in. Everything would be fine, and you'd come in with your to do list and all the things you wanted us to do for the day, and you would just wreak havoc on everybody. And we just laughed because we thought it was funny. But now that you're sitting in visionary role, and you can actually see the business from the top, you're so calm and you're so good to work for, and you allow us the freedom to be able to do what we need to do to get the job done. And we work so much more productive when you come in that mood. And so I thought, wow, I'm really a good boss after all. I felt really good about that. Like I really could sit back as a visionary, and the momentum continues without me having to drive it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is big. I'm glad that you gave that uh, scenario, shared that, because I think business owners are so driven, and we're a lot of times in our head,
Mhm.
and sometimes we could have come from chaotic situations. That's what we're used to. We're used to, okay, let's go, let's do the da da, and not everybody operates that way.
Mhm.
And you actually get more done and empower more people into action when you come from that place of groundedness
Yes.
and vision and so forth. So it sounds like your team actually witnessed this transformation with you.
Yeah. They really
And
saw
this
it.
is such a great message for those of you that are listening to this show today, to just be aware of your own energy when you come in and around your team. Is it really creating positive momentum, or is it actually spinning people out and creating more chaos, which is slowing everybody down? It's a good thing to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So, WeBank, which we're all fans of, that's why we're here for this show. And I know that WeBank was a big impact for you with the basketry all these years. How has being a certified women-owned company with WeBank helped you to grow your business?
For the basketry, we did a lot of corporate gifting. That was probably 95% of what we did. So we we attracted a lot of women-owned businesses in the corporate world because we were WeBank certified. I can't stress it enough. I truly believe that every women-owned business needs to be WeBank certified. You never know what doors are going to open up for you. Besides the fact that it's continuing education. I mean, we need to constantly educate ourselves and stay on top of the curve. And so WeBank provides a lot of educational value there.
Yeah, it really does. I'm so grateful to WeBank consistently. Obviously, we have this show that they produce, and give so much education all the way around to the members and support and networking and their events and everything. So, as we wrap up this show, how can audience members connect with you? They might be saying, "Gosh, I would like to, you know, take that course that you're producing." How do they reach you?
I guess right now, the retail lab hasn't launched yet. I suspect it would happen sometime in early 2024. They could best find me on Instagram, uh, Kristi.Brocato on Instagram. The retail lab is also on Instagram. Let's start there because, this is something that I do want to take my time. I don't want to rush a good thing. I want to take my time, and I'm still sort of retired, so
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is amazing, right? Because a lot of you might be thinking, I want to sell my business at some point. And yeah, you want to like enjoy this time, Kristi, and what you've been able to do 28
yeah.
years. It is so incredibly inspiring. And you've done this. You had a beautiful exit and the business continues to flourish, and your team is taking it and owning it. You should feel so proud of what you have created, and I'm excited for your next level. Do you have any words of advice to leave with us today?
Yes, besides everybody becoming a Pinnacle Global Network um, member, because that was life changing for me. I would say to fire yourself, to replace yourself, to really find that freedom of choices in your company, so that way you can love your business again and not feel stuck. No one should ever feel that way about anything.
Yeah. Wow. That is really, really powerful. And thank you so much for being on Women Who Own It. I've loved this show and being here with you today. I definitely want to continue this connection with you and excited to see all the amazing things you're going to be creating in the future, Kristi, and all the people that you're going to help. And so, for all of you listening today, I hope you enjoyed this show. Please share this with business owners that you love and care about. Subscribe, give us reviews. That really, really does make a difference. And if you were inspired by what Kristi had to share today and you want to learn how to scale your own business, check us out at pinnacleglobalnetwork.com, and you'll learn all about how what we do, and we're happy to hop on a call and answer any questions and see if it's a right fit for you. We also want to send you a free copy of my book, Scale or Fail, which is a Wall Street Journal best-selling book about scaling. And so we want to send this to you for free. So all you need to do is go to scaleorfail.com/WBENC, and we will send it to you free of charge as my gift to you. And until next time, make decisions from where you're going, not from where you're at. Bye, everybody.